Good morning. Welcome everyone to the Lyft Informational webinar. My name is Kay Sklar and I am the Lyft Program Manager, and we're going to give everyone just a few more minutes to join. So while we're waiting, if you could please leave your name and let us know where you're calling from, that would be great. It's wonderful to see some new faces. So if you could please let us know in the chat where you're calling from, that would be great. Huge welcome. Hello to those who have just joined. My name is Kay Sklar and I am our Lyft Program Manager. I'm going to give people just one more minute or so to join. And in the meantime, we would love to know a bit more about who is on the call. So if you could please let us know where you're calling from, that would be great. All right, awesome to see, to get a sense of who is with us. We have Alexander from Tbilisi, Georgia. Welcome, welcome. Dennis, great, from Malawi. It's wonderful to have you with us. Hello, Caroline from South Africa. One of my colleagues from OCP, Nkechi, is also on, also from South Africa. So if you haven't had a chance to connect yet, maybe after this call you could talk. Otherwise, great to have you, Alice from Romania, and Tim, wonderful to have you from Kenya. I will give us just one more moment and then we'll get started shortly. All right. So again, a huge welcome. I feel like we have a critical mass of folks. It's wonderful to have you all with us. My name is Kay Sklar, and I am the Lyft Program Manager here at Open Contracting Partnership. I'm also joined by several of my colleagues from Open Contracting Partnership, or OCP, and they've introduced themselves in the chat. Feel free to contact any of us after this call. We'd love to help answer your questions. So thank you all for joining us. Today, our objectives are to talk to you about our program and let you know how to submit a strong proposal, as well as share some resources and answer your questions about Lyft. Before I dive into talking about the program, I'd also like to let you know a bit about Open Contracting Partnership, or OCP, before we get started. So at OCP, we work with governments, civil society, journalists, and other stakeholders to implement data-driven reform projects that improve the effectiveness and fairness of government contracting. And Lyft, in particular, is our program that helps teams of reformers from around the world to use procurement reform to achieve measurable impact in terms of public goods, works, and services, as well as expanding economic opportunity. We know that many of you and many of our partners right now are really struggling with the impacts and challenges caused by COVID-19, and we want to help you. That's why up to 7 select teams are going to be receiving 200 hours of technical assistance and approximately $30,000 of support for project activities over the course of this 18-month program. So our question to all of you is, how will you use open contracting to support an inclusive and effective recovery? We want to hear your ideas, and we're very excited that so many of you are interested and as eager to address this challenge as we are. So why open contracting in particular? Well, open contracting is about making the public procurement process and information more transparent, as well as engaging different sectors from the public to the private sector, all to deliver better goods, works, and services or expand economic opportunity. As you are working on your project application, to make sure that you're really hitting that mark with open contracting, I encourage you to think about what impact your project will have to create better outcomes. Why inclusive? Well, sadly, the pandemic, of course, has disproportionately impacted our marginalized communities. And this the LIFT program is for you if you want to rethink procurement to ensure that it includes and serves people who are traditionally excluded and underserved from the system, including women, minorities, as well as low-income communities. As you're working on your application, to make sure that you're hitting this mark of inclusivity, a great question to ask yourself is, how will my project give more power to groups that have been habitually excluded? And effectiveness, well, this one is pretty obvious, but right now we are in a moment where many governments are facing shrinking budgets, and it is more important than ever that governments are able to make the most out of every dollar to deliver the best services possible for their residents. As you're working on your project, think, how will my project help processes, policies, or institutions to work better? So why apply? Well, LIFT will help you propel your ambitions. Will help you take your great idea and turn it into a really strong plan for action. And we'll work with you very closely to help make this happen. This includes participation and engagement in 2 in-depth planning workshops with us, as well as regular technical assistance from OCP staff. As part of our support to you, you will receive up to the 200 hours of technical assistance, as mentioned, and up to around $30,000 of direct support, depending upon your needs and progress. You will also be joining a community of reformers. LIFT is not just about you and your project, although of course we will tailor our support to you, but one of the great benefits of LIFT is that you'll be with a cohort of reformers who are also working on procurement reform in their contexts. And you'll be able to learn with them, as well as share your challenges and celebrate your successes. So who is LIFT right for? Well, as I said at the top of the call, we work with a lot of different stakeholders at Open Contracting Partnership, and LIFT is also for you as well. So you can be from a city, regional, or national government, from civil society, you can be from a technology organization or social entrepreneur, and of course you can apply, and we welcome applications from individual organizations. But you can also apply as a coalition of actors. And in fact, during this last session with the LIFT teams, or the last LIFT cohort, we have noticed that some of our strongest teams have brought together multiple actors from across sectors. So our civil society and government partnership teams really have achieved amazing results. So we would also be very keen to receive more applications from coalitions of actors. So LIFT is also for you if you are working to improve the quality of a public good, work, or service, or expand economic opportunity. Well, of course, we at OCP are very interested in supporting procurement reform generally. This program in particular is really for teams that are working to achieve a clear goal relating to an inclusive and effective recovery and have and are able to achieve measurable impact in the course of the program. Lyft is also for projects that have momentum and buy-in. We will work with you in the course of the program to continue to build upon and strengthen buy-in in your community and in your context. But as we are assessing applications, we will be looking for those projects that already have some momentum and buy-in from the people that you need to have on board to make change happen. Lyft is also for teams that are high capacity. You must have the skills and time to invest in this project. This is an intensive program, and we need, and we're looking for teams that are ready to go and hit the ground running. So what kinds of projects will Lyft support? As you're starting to develop your project plan, you might be wondering, well, I don't know if this is close enough to supporting an inclusive and effective recovery. Here are some ideas of projects that would be very excited to receive. Your project could aim to expand economic opportunity. For example, perhaps it's boosting opportunities for women and minority-owned businesses, or building capacity of small businesses. Your project might also be looking to improve public services and infrastructure, such as stocking hospitals fairly with the best medications possible, or expanding access to green and affordable transportation. Your project might also aim to increase government effectiveness and accountability, all with an eye on supporting that inclusive and effective recovery. That could mean improving integrity and fair delivery for underrepresented groups through monitoring and advocacy. Of course, we're also willing and excited to hear your other ideas, so please send them on over. And if you have any questions about if your particular project is right for Lyft, please feel free to reach out to me. I'd be glad to talk with you about if your project is right for this program. For more inspiration, I also want to share what our current Lyft teams have been up to. So we have been working with Mexico City on revamping their bike share program to enable more residents and more neighborhoods to access this great, affordable, environmentally form of transportation. We've also been working with the cities of Buenos Aires and New Orleans, which are both aiming to expand access to opportunity for local small business owners. And in New Orleans, that would be local women and minority-owned business owners in particular. We've also been working with a great civil society and government partnership in Moldova, which is seeking to improve access to treatments for HIV and tuberculosis medications for their patients, as well as improving the general transparency and efficiency and accountability in the medical procurement process. We're also working with another great civil society and government partnership in Ecuador, which is seeking to create a more open, transparent, and responsive procurement ecosystem, all with the aim of establishing those stronger feedback channels between civil society and government. Although we've been working with these teams through Lyft and our challenge question was a bit different the first time, I feel that all of these projects would be very exciting for us again in the coming call for applications. So if you're inspired by these projects, we'd be eager to get more projects like these. So how does Lyft work? Well, in the first 3 months with us, we will work with you to take your great idea and transform it into that strong plan, starting with a special workshop. We will also be working with you to bring that plan back to your team to continue to build it out and build buy-in and strengthen it and refine it. Then we will come back together for another workshop to kick off our work on implementation. During these 15 months, you'll receive tailored support to help you achieve your impact goals, as well as, of course, refine and pivot and do all the things necessary for a strong implementation. I would also like to highlight that even if you are not selected for Lyft, we want to make sure that you're still able to benefit from our lessons learned through the program. And we'll seek to share all of the tools and approaches that we developed through this program with you and the field through blog posts and other forms of communication. So I've spoken a bit about how we will deliver the support and all the things that you'll do with us. Well, what in particular will we help you achieve on your path to impact? Well, through Lyft, we will help you make progress on building political buy-in and making sure that you have that robust mandate in place to enable your public contracting reform to be successful. We will also work with you on improving the use of open data and open data systems to manage, monitor, and advance the delivery of your public goods, works, and services. And also through Lyft, we'll help you with contracting strategies, including reforming your policies and processes to make sure that you're using the best new ways of working with public contracts that really lead to results. Through Lyft, we will also help you design your inclusive reforms. So not just having inclusion as a result of your work, but to ensure that inclusion is built throughout your project to ensure that it's part of the DNA of your work. Finally, we will help your team work better and really engage the stakeholders that you need to be engaged and bring you all together to solve those complex problems. How will we provide support? We at Open Contracting Partnership will work very closely with you through the course of the program. As I mentioned, we are excited to bring you together for those 2 intensive planning workshops, but we'll also maintain regular contact with you through bi-weekly calls. And during these bi-weekly calls, we'll be checking in and providing technical assistance support. These will be one-on-one meetings with you, and it's our time to provide that tailored support. We will also be having group calls. So this is your time to learn together with the cohort of Lyft teams about what's the latest happenings in the world in open contracting, and to ask questions and to share your challenges and successes. So what might the Lyft program look like for you? Here's an overview of what a project might look like, or what an engagement might look like with us. Let's say your goal would be to increase the number of bids awarded to small business owners. In the first 3 months of your work with us, we would kick off that engagement with the Liftoff Workshop. You would do your team activities such as developing your strategic implementation and impact monitoring plan. Perhaps you'd be engaging those higher level political officials and civil society leaders to make sure that they have given their input and are on board. You might also deepen your understanding of the challenge and potential solution through conducting more in-depth user research, and of course, conducting that data analysis as well. Regardless of your goal, I think that all these outcomes we'd expect to see all these outcomes on your project, which would be that your project plan is strong and has buy-in and resources from key decision makers, that your core team would regularly meet to co-work and make progress and solve problems, and that your key stakeholders would be aware of and excited about your project. And of course, some of your project activities might already be underway. During the last 15 months of the program, we would bring you together again for another workshop to refine your plan and strengthen it based on your work of the previous months. And then you'd be diving into the rest of your implementation activities, which of course would be highly dependent upon your aim. Assuming your goal would be to increase the number of bids awarded to small business owners, some of those activities could include things like changing policies and procedures to address late payment issues, or designing and implementing a communication strategy so that way more small business owners are aware of and have the capacity to submit bids. And of course, we'd hope that you'd be conducting that regular analysis, to understand what's happening during project implementation so that you're able to pivot and better meet your goals in the end. And during, at the end of that engagement, we would see these outcomes of measurable increase in the amount of contracts awarded to local SMEs, as well as deepened capacity to independently pursue future reform projects with our help or without it. So what do you need what would we expect you to commit to during the course of the program? Well, during the application process, we would like to see that short 10-question application. We really designed this application process with you in mind, and we tried to keep that initial application short. If you are selected to move forward, we would ask that you would complete an additional questionnaire to give us more details on your project, team, and context. And the finalist teams will be invited to participate in one round of interviews as well as complete a short exercise. During the program itself, we would expect that you would proactively work to achieve your project milestones in your plan. This means really creating progress without OCP holding your hand. I like to say that Lyft is a do with program, not do for program. So although we are here to support you and help you along your way, you're expected to really put in the time as well. We would also ask that you participate in our Liftoff Workshops. These are critical time for planning, and to make the most of the program, we expect that you participate in those workshops. We also know that the regular check-in calls every 2 weeks do make a big difference in pushing the project forward together with us. So we ask that your team does actively participate in those calls, as well as regularly meet beyond our time together to really push the project forward. We also expect that you would develop and use a monitoring and learning and evaluation plan to adapt and track your progress. How are we selecting? The big thing here is that all the applications must be submitted by March 12th. Please do submit your applications by March 12th. The top applications will then, the top teams will then be asked to submit additional application. We will also be engaging an advisory committee to help us make smart decisions through this process. The selected teams will be announced in June. How are we evaluating applications? We are looking for we're looking very closely at the potential impact of the proposed project, as well as the strength of your plan and how you're going to be getting that impact to happen. We are also looking at your team's power to make change, including what support you have from key stakeholders. Finally, we are looking at the capacity of your team to deliver your project and address your challenges. Here are the key dates. Again, the big date for all of you to keep in mind is March 12th. We'll be announcing the selected teams in June of 2021, and we're excited to work with the selected teams after that. So we do have some resources to help you ace your application. I invite all of you to join our upcoming Lyft webinar to help you develop strong application and problem and solution statements. This is February 16th. Please do attend. If you're not able to make it though, a recording will be available after the call. You can also sign up for office hours to receive one-on-one support from an OCP Lyft team member. Please contact me, my email is there, and I will also be sharing a copy of this deck after the call. Finally, we have a Lyft applicant handbook that has all of this information and more, with some great tips in there on how to develop a strong application, as well as details of what we're looking for in the Lyft applications. As always, if you have any questions, would like to bounce ideas off of me, please do reach out. I'm here for you. So with that, as promised, I have left plenty of time for Q&A. So I'd love to hear any and all questions that you have. This is your time to get more details from me and our team here at OCP. So please ask away. You're welcome to, yes, ask questions in the chat as well if you don't feel comfortable turning off your microphone. And we would also love to hear some of your project ideas. So if you have some thoughts in your heads about projects you'd like to work on, or love to know your latest thinking about the project that you are going to be applying with. Great. I'm glad that everything is clear.
May I?
Please.
Hello, everyone. I'm Diana Yanaki from an NGO based in Moldova, Chisinau, which is called Is Lyft Right. Thank you for your clear and comprehensive presentation. I'd like to ask whether you have some kind of priority. I mean, what I mean by this, should we focus more on like national, central level, or should we focus more on local level? Since recently there are a lot of discussions on local OCP initiatives and so on.
Thank you. That's it. Oh, that's it. That's a great question. You know, we have worked with different levels of government through the LIFT program, from city all the way up to national. And I would say it really depends upon your project and what you think of as being a feasible yet ambitious impact goal, right? So we will be looking at if the projects are feasible. So of course, like, we'd love to see a national program, but we'd also be very excited about a really powerful local program that has the potential for replication. But it really just depends upon what you see as an ambitious yet feasible goal. For the teams that make it all the way up to the interview stage, we'll be asking hard questions about, can you actually do this? Like, what are how will you make this happen? So in the end, don't overpromise. And I don't think it also doesn't count against you to work at the local level either. We've really enjoyed working with the cities and the smaller local governments or regional governments, and we've seen great results from that. So I don't think it's a disadvantage if you say that you're just working at the local level, for example. But of course, whatever you think of as being that ambitious yet feasible goal, I would focus on that rather than picking the different, picking which level of government. I think that matters a bit less to us. So did that answer your question? I'm sorry, that was a bit.
Yes, definitely. Yes, it is very clear. Thank you. And also, perhaps I'd have another question related to the partnerships with the authorities eventually. Is there any obligation to have like an official partnership? I mean, in case you'd like to implement something at the national level, for instance, with the regulatory bodies in public procurement. Is there any rules for that, or we can cooperate with them without formalizing, let's say, our partnership? You know, when it comes to public authorities, it is important, this issue to clarify. Thank you.
For sure, that is another great question. Thank you for asking it. We it is not required. So first you can apply just as an organization, but and we would honestly be excited if you had someone on your team or were able to otherwise demonstrate good relations with a government entity to make progress. But there doesn't need to be a formal like letter of understanding between you. But we would.
That's exactly what I meant. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, we have longer experience, but the question was on that very official letter or agreement or something. Okay.
Yeah. But we understand it can be tricky to get that, and sometimes.
Yes.
Yeah.
It is better not to be. I mean, for us as
Yes.
NGOs. So that is why I asked. Thank you so much.
Oh, no problem. Yes, for us, I'd say it matters more that you're able to talk about that relationship and demonstrate that relationship more so than like a formal letter. So that's a great question. Hello to those who may have just joined. As Catherine mentioned in the chat, we will be recording, or we are recording this, and we'll be sharing it afterwards.
And Kay, you just got a question in the chat.
Oh, please.
Timothy, and he's asking, my question is, project's impact range from short-term to long-term. Is there priority on the duration of impact of the project?
That's a good question. So first, I would say top of mind for us is will the project achieve measurable impact? That's number one. Given this program in particular, we are most interested in projects that could achieve or will achieve measurable impact at the end of the 18 months. So we would love to see impact and I hope to see impact after the project ends, but for this program in particular, we're really focused on projects that are ready to hit the ground running and can feasibly achieve measurable impact in that 18 months. Yeah, and it's a great question. I think that it also gets back to Diana from Moldova's point about which level of government. Again, we're really looking at those projects that are ambitious yet feasible. So I would encourage you to think about that as well as you're putting together your application. Other questions? Either feel free to speak up and unmute yourself or drop a question in the chat. We would also love to hear about what projects you're working on, so feel free to speak up about that as well. Okay. Please, Timothy, I see your hand is raised. Please.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, we can hear you. Yep, there's a bit of an echo.
Yeah. Can you hear me better now?
Perfect.
Okay. So my question is well, I mean, in line with your last question, is so we've been thinking about like a couple of ideas which I think we don't think fits into Lyft on the account of the desire to, I mean, you mentioned like projects that are ready to roll, things that can achieve impact within 18 months and stuff like those. So what happens to projects that probably are not fit for Lyft? Are there I mean, opportunities for such kind of projects to share? And I'll just mention one of them in brief. So in Kenya at the moment, I think we passed new regulations for procurement, and one of the methods of procurement, community participation. And so when we looked at this, you know, what it means, I mean, this is new. You know, I don't think it's been tested, but it falls along the lines of AGPO. I mean, if you're aware with Kenya's, you know, some of these policies. So AGPO is access to government procurement that targets youth, women, and people with disability. And so we see it fitting within that context. And we're interested in kind of like testing how community participation approach works. So this is where government wants youth groups, women groups, or community-based organizations to be given opportunity to implement government programs. So where instead of government taking, I mean, like not government, but individual contractor taking all the money for their profit or whatever it is, then community members are able to, you know, work within the project. So it means the profit is spread across groups, if it's a community-based organization, for example. And then they also deliver the project to their desired quality. Think about a water project, for example. So, so they'll be addressing the problem, but also achieving economic, you know, impact, because I mean, they access opportunities within while implementing the project. So I don't know, where do you think this kind of project fits?
That's it. I mean, two things. So first, I think that project does sound like a good, like it could be a good fit for Lyft, depending upon how you're able to articulate what the impact would be and the steps you would take to get there. If you feel like you're not quite ready for Lyft, though, we are thinking a lot about you and teams like you that have like projects like this that are not quite fit for Lyft, but are almost there, and we're developing new resources and materials to help help you get there. I don't know if Catherine, you want to speak a bit more about the resources under development. We also have my colleague Carrie. I'm not sure you've had a chance to chat, but one of my colleagues from OCP, Carrie, and I think Nkechi is on the call as well, and they can follow up with you to find out how we can support you through Lyft or beyond, because it sounds like a great project that you have going on.
Definitely. I think that is a great way to move forward. So, I mean, as OCP, right, we are very committed to work with everyone who promotes open contracting in their countries and in their contexts. Lyft is only one of the things that we do, and there are many other ways of how OCP can support you. So, Timothy, I do think maybe Carrie and Nkechi, you can put your emails in the chat and then reach out to Timothy directly, but there are many other ways of how we can support your project.
Thank you. And Gary, I know Gary, I think we've been in touch before, so I don't think we're new to each other, so that becomes easy picking the conversation. So thank you very much. I really appreciate that, and I look forward to, you know, picking conversations around this, because I mean, this is new. We never know. I mean, looking at what the law provides for that, and given that it's anchored on a legal framework, I mean, the opportunity is there to empower communities, especially around this COVID time, where the money remains the community, you know, provides opportunities downstream, you know, where it's a water project, women and youth provide food and other supplies, for example. So there, you know, you look at it widely, there might be a lot of opportunities in there, upstream, downstream, whichever stage you look at it, or a level you look at it. And I'm glad to have a chat sometime, you know, with Gary and the rest of the team to see where this fits. Yeah, along the chain.
Yeah. Thank you. And thank you for all the work that you're doing. That's, like you said, that it has potential, right? It really does, it really is meaningful, and we want to support your work. Other questions or thoughts about projects that you have? Now is your moment to speak up, or write in the chat if you prefer. One question you might be having is about the global nature of this program and if certain regions are prioritized. I forgot to mention that earlier in the slideshow, so I'll just let you know right now that we are seeking regional diversity, so please do apply. We are hoping for great representation in this program from around the world, so we're not prioritizing any one region in particular. I think that's the only thing that I missed. Other questions?
No, I mean, that's real good. Actually, I was wondering about the question, like the 7 hour, how are they distributed and stuff? But
Yep.
I mean, that's interesting to hear. Thank you.
Great. So if others of you have questions and are wondering, like, I don't know if this is a good question, someone else in the room might also have the same question. So now is your chance.
A quick one. If so, if you apply and you're suggesting co-funding from other sources, what does that look like? What does that mean? You know, is Lyft open to, you know, if the project requires additional funding from other sources, does Lyft allow for that?
Lyft does allow for funding from other sources, for sure. We would love to see that. Actually, in terms of, we want to know that the project is able to succeed and has the good, strong foundation for success, and often that is funding or at least human resources. Perhaps if you're in the government, then departmental budget, that can also be resources. But yes, we would love to see co-funding opportunities as well. Great question. All right. So now's your last chance before I let all of you go to speak up. Feel free to drop a question in the chat. In the meantime, I will let you know that if you do have questions that you'd rather be answered one-on-one, please do reach out to me. I'm happy to answer your questions or connect you to my colleagues. We are indeed excited to see lots of great ECHA representation. I think that we have some great representation on this call, actually from all over the world. So it's wonderful to have all of you with us. And I will be circulating a copy of the presentation at the end after this call, and recordings will be made available on our OCP webpage as well.
Kay, sorry to jump in. I just got I think it might have been accidentally, but a direct message in the chat saying, considering there'll be regional spread, will there be opportunities for peer learning among the participants, especially considering some of the concepts are at different levels in the countries? So maybe a quick one on that. Sorry.
Yes, no, that's great. Thank you, Carrie. And shout out to Carrie who introduced herself in the chat. Yes, so we are very eager to see learnings spread across regions and across the world. We create opportunities for the Lyft teams to learn from each other. And we're also very interested in connecting the Lyft teams with other partners in the regions, regardless of if they're part of Lyft. We would love to see shared learning happen. That's important to us here at OCPs, that it's not just, doesn't just stay with the teams, but that we're able to strengthen our community as a whole. So yes, we are very supportive of peer learning, and that's an important part of the program. Other questions that may have arrived in chat? I don't mean to cut people off. All right. So with that, I really am going to close the call. So thank you all so much for your time today. I appreciate it. And I look forward to being in touch. And thanks again. Take care and have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thank
Have a
you,
nice-
everyone. Bye.
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 Thank you. Bye-bye.